You guys are live. All the best team.
Uh, we are live, right? Hello, everyone. Hello, am I audible? Can you just confirm?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you're
Okay.
audible.
You're audible. Okay, okay. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you to this group discussion. I am Divyanshu, head of the history department at Synapse, and I'll be hosting this event alongside my good friend Nidhi. We are excited to have you all here. I hope you have prepared for today's topic and are ready to share your thoughts. I know the participation is a bit low. I think that's because of Mahashivratri. But I encourage you, each of you, to participate actively. Let's make this session interactive and a good learning experience for all of us. So, moving on to the rules. Uh, can you open the rules slide?
There is a
There
background
is
noise. Can you
background noise.
do
Can
something?
you do something? Is there a background noise? I think it's because there's an event going on. So, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so starting with the rules, the discussion will be conducted in English. Keep the discussion relevant to the topic, which is Napoleon. If you present any facts or data, ensure they are from credible sources. Listen actively and avoid interrupting while someone is speaking. Stay within the time limit so everyone gets a chance to contribute. Avoid personal attacks or rude remarks to the character. If you are stating an opinion, back it up with logic or historical evidences, and ensure everyone gets an opportunity to speak and avoid dominating the discussion. Thank you. And with this, I think we should start. One more thing, if you want to speak, just raise your hand. We will call your name, and then you can unmute yourself and just start speaking. So, can you do the next slide? Okay. So, is there anyone who wants to speak and start this? Anyone? Just raise a hand if you want to
Like,
speak.
is it a first
Is
session
it a
or second
first session
session?
or second session? No, no, it's a first session. Anyone who feels like they want to present their idea, who wants to speak on the topic?
Like sir, we have
Like
to
sir, we have to
on
on
the starting
the starting
we have,
we
like we
like we
same right.
right.
So I
So
only basic things I
basic things
remember.
I remember. Your voice was not clear. Can you repeat that again, please?
I was
I was
we all
we all
in
in
in the
in
I think.
I
I
think.
don't
So
remember
I don't remember
that's what
that's what
like how Napoleon
like
conquered
how
or
Napoleon
uh,
conquered or uh,
how he used the.
yes, yes, we use the yes, yes.
Sir, I think you should start the session and then we will give our thought also because that will be great because you know all the things. So that's where the discussion will start.
Okay, sure, wonderful. So let me start this. Uh, just a minute. Okay, so let me start this. I think the answer may not be straightforward to this. Napoleon has been a contradictory figure in the history, a visionary leader, but he has also been known as a very ruthless conqueror. I think to understand Napoleon's role as a savior, we should talk about the late 18th century when France was in a crisis politically and economically, and even foreign invasions. So I think when Napoleon took over in 1799, I feel France was struggling. He bought political stability, he reorganized the government, and established strong administration as well. Unlike the previous rulers who relied on birthright, Napoleon he promoted a merit-based system, which promoted the talented individuals to rise through the ranks. Then the Napoleonic Code, how can you forget that, which established equality before the law, which protected the private property. And I think that was the time when he introduced the secular form of governance. And then the economic and social reforms, when Napoleon revived the French economy, built roads, improved the trade, and promoted education. And most importantly, his military brilliance. I think during Napoleon's rule, France rose into Europe's most powerful nation. His tactical brilliance, which led to many legendary victories, whether it's in Jena, his soldiers adored him, his soldiers loved him, and his leadership qualities. I think it reshaped the modern European warfare and modern European boundaries as well. However, when we talk about Napoleon, we need to also talk about his destruction across Europe, the utter hunger for power, the ambition for power, which led to endless wars and bloodshed, whether it was during his invasion of Spain or Russia. The kind of dictatorship mindset he had, and the kind of narcissism he had, when he crowned himself the emperor in 1804, he restricted the free speech, he wanted to control the press, and he pretty much did everything which could benefit him in the long run. And then his empire itself was a very short-lived empire. When he was defeated in the Waterloo in 1815, European monarchies again returned, and the French rule was exhausted. His rule was impactful, but was built more on a conquest than lasting stability. Maybe you can call him a savior, or a hero, or a butcher, but the truth lies maybe somewhere in between. You cannot call him a black or a white. He was a grayish character, and I think for me, it's very hard to conclude him as a savior, or as a conqueror, or as a butcher. Thank you. Anyone who wants to proceed from here? Yes, go on, Shamat.
Uh, First of all, a very am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, you are. Go on.
Hello everyone. I'm Shamant. I pretty much see in a very different perspective of Napoleon. If we just go a little back, like before the start of the Napoleon's rule, we had the French Revolution, and the French people were so much into revolution that even after that killed all the royalty, even after that killed all the nobility, and after the revolution was over, like whatever the main objectives of the revolution were completed, the French people were still in the mood of revolution. Any day just to come gather around the streets, burn some shop, scream revolution, guillotine someone, and all sort of things was happened. So basically, the revolutionaries who led the revolution could not control the revolution at the end. They could not put a stop to it and establish it. and this is what led to Napoleon's rise. Since a majority of the nobility and the royalty were killed or they had left the nation, and all sort of things had happened, he came as a dictator and took over, like, or took advantage of the power vacuum in France, told all sort of stories to the French people, and positioned himself as one of the greatest rulers of France. Like, it was during the Napoleonic era the concept of nationalism rose. Uh, he told the people of France that the French, whatever happened just before the start of his rule, the French Revolution, that could not happen anywhere in the world, and it happened in France only because uh, it was due to the like cultural capital or whatever, because they were French. So he instincted that French people are like culturally higher up than the other thing. Okay, Tushar Singh says it's wrong. I cite my sources from Dr. Roy Krisaganda. You can go and watch his lectures or books. And once he rose to power, he was not actually a ruler or thing. He was actually a warlord sort of thing. He used to just go into some city or to some region, slash people out there left and right, murder people, burn cities, burn down villages, farms, etc. And if we see his empire also, like, it was very short lived. He ruled for about 16 years, 15 to 16 years. And and he and he was eventually muzzled down by all others, a combined force. I think it was the Duke of Wellington. He was muzzled down in the Battle of Waterloo, where he had to face a crushing defeat. And we all know what happened later. So I feel more of a savior of France or butcher of Europe. I guess both of this won't make sense, because butcher of Europe, okay, I understand that he killed a lot of people, but not to an extent where he affected each and every part of Europe in such a manner. Like, if he is called the butcher of Europe, then I don't know what Hitler should be called. And savior of France, no, not at all. He actually, it was like a black spot on the French, whatever, like the standards which he told his people, but how others perceived France from outside. So these are my analysis or my understanding of the situation. You can present if I'm wrong, or if you feel I'm wrong. Thank you.
Wonderful opinions, Shamant. Anyone next who wants to proceed? Anyone, you can raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself and start speaking. Okay, I feel like there is no one. Okay, Shamant, you are here.
Yes, yes.
I think then we should discuss more about him. If no one is speaking, then I think we both should do that.
Yeah, I thought Tushar would speak up because he pointed something which I mentioned wrong. How
Okay,
Napoleon.
Tushar, do you want to speak? Okay, he's not able to.
Okay, as of I know, he died while he was in exile, some health issue, if I'm not wrong.
Also, there is a conspiracy that he was poisoned, if you know.
Yeah, I have heard it, but not very well.
I mean, yeah, it's a conspiracy theory. Like people say that he was
Yeah.
poisoned because when he died, there was sort of some tests which were conducted on his body
Huh.
hair or head, I think, and they found some traces of poison.
And even his right hand, it has been rumored that, like in every portrait, his right hand is not visible. I guess it's rumored that it was cut off in some battle or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like if you watch any picture, like 99% of his picture, his right hand is not visible. It's either ducked under the coat or inside his pockets, or it's covered by the weapon or something like that. Always.
Have you watched any of his like movies based on his life?
I haven't watched any movies, but I have read articles and some stories here and there.
So this movie, which was I think released in 2023 or so, maybe 24, Walking Phoenix. I don't remember the year. I think there were many facts which were lied. I think most of the facts.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that.
But you should definitely watch it. Like it was a beautiful movie. I mean, it was a lie, obviously, but it was a good movie.
Oh, okay. Do you think the uh, why do you think that the British and French got together because of Napoleon? Like in the late 1800s, Napoleon was in the early 1800s, right? If the British saw that if this is what the French army could do, so they could, like when the Britain rose to power, like in the world after 1850s and all. Do you think that they saw that they had a lot of potential in the French army and they could help them in battles, etc.?
Maybe I don't know, but the hatred for the British is still there in the French mind. Like late 1800s is a good time, yes, but I feel like till date people of France hate the British ideology for that. You know,
Hmm.
like if you watch any right-wing YouTubers of France, they try to downgrade the Britishers. Like they still have that thing in their mind. So
Hmm.
maybe they got together. You can say that, but because of Napoleon, maybe yes, but you just cannot say that.
Hmm.
Also, do you know? Okay, okay. Somebody wants to speak. Please go on.
Hello. So am I audible firstly?
Yes.
Okay. So, what I believe about Napoleon is, uh, like, of course, we cannot be decisive about him whether he was savior or a savior of the France or the destroyer of Europe. But certainly his reign was, like his story was a story from revolution, reform, and ruin. Finally. So, in the early 1800s, or in the beginning of the 19th century itself, France was in utter chaos, and the revolution, which was started by the uh, working class people, had toppled the monarchy but left the nation in bankruptcy, fractured, and lawless. So someone takes advantage of this power vacuum, and lo and behold, he is our Napoleon Bonaparte. He was, as we all know, he was general in the 1800s only, the starting of 1800s. So what he did in France was like why he was revered very highly in the France. I want to mention this part because we want to we are driving on this conclusion whether he was savior of France or not. So the law for all, he replaced hundreds of the outdated laws with the Napoleonic code for the first time. and every French citizen, whether he was from the upper class, lower class, all of them had equal rights. And since the previous monarchy, they had feudal laws in them. The laws which were crafted by Napoleon, they were deprived of the feudal privileges, and it was much more. It was highly appreciated by the women of that era too, because they didn't get much right back then. And but it was not a much reason for their rejoice. Napoleon had restricted their freedoms too. Another reason why I think that France, still some hardliner of France right-wing parties consider Napoleon very highly, is because firstly he created stability in France, and he tamed inflation a lot there, and he brought back France's shape by constructing roads, and mm, he also paid attention to one of the most neglected ways of transportation, that is waterways. And due to this, farmers also had the benefit to see prosperity. One more reason I think would be peace with the Pope or the Church of that time. Uh, he he took the leverage of religion at that time. I mean, he mended ties with the Catholic Church back then. So I think this is these are a few of the reasons why he's considered savior there. Why do you think he is considered butcher of the Europe? These points are the reasons why he is highly revered there in France. What do you want to say on this, Shaman or Divyanshu?
Okay, wonderful take, and I agree with you as well. Just to answer one question, I think Tushar asked that he inherited a strong army and that's luck. Um, well, you can say that, but again, just getting a strong army does not mean that you become a conqueror, right? You still need brilliant intelligence. You need war knowledge. You need knowledge of the army, of handling wars, of handling, uh, you know, of being a good leader, being a good commander. You still need that. Just because you have gotten some resources, it does not mean that you will just conquer everything. So I think yes, you can call him lucky to some extent, but he was in intelligent. Like you cannot take that away from him. Yes, Shamant, go on.
I was just reading through the tech like chat box, and Tushar says that at that time European nations were divided and had political and were in political chaos. I would just like to ask one question to him. Tell me one time in history when there was no political chaos in Europe. It was always there.
Exactly. Good point. Yes, and it is still there.
Yeah, and to just steer this conversation forward, I would like to ask, like, know your opinions. Do you people think that Napoleon won Russia, or he burnt Russia, like the capital, the Russian capital, Moscow?
You want to speak on this, Samriddhi, or should I? Okay, you have raised your hand.
Oh
Go
no,
on.
yes, I want to. So as I told earlier that he was general in 1800s and he did some reforms. But what he did was he took the monarchy and he invaded Russia in 1812. So I think he actually invaded Russia because he sent an army of more than 6 lakh people, and the Russians earlier retreated. And actually, what they did was they burnt their own lands because the winters were coming early there. So uh, the what the Russians did were they wanted to stop the French army in their tracks. So since the Russians they had retreated into their own country far from the border, the starving French soldiers they ate their horses, had frost bites, and hardly 30,000 survived. as also in many officers they recount that it was a disaster that was beyond their imagination. The Russians they sacrificed their borders, but they prevented their motherland from being invaded. And in the later part, in 1813, Prussia, Austria, and Britain, all of these countries united, and in 1813, the these combined armies attacked French army, and Napoleon's army were outnumbered. And as we know, he exiled later. I think it was Elba, so he exiled there. Did that answer your question, Shaman?
Yeah, pretty much yes. If I'm not wrong, he exiled in some Saint Helena's Island.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Actually, I named the region. I think.
Yeah.
Yes, island maybe. Yes, sorry. Maybe I was wrong in my fact, but yes, the Russians were very tactical with their defense. They burned their fields and they withdrew in their country since the winter were there. The Napoleon's army they faced starvation and frostbite, and mostly they starved to death and by cold.
Okay, wonderful. Continuing from the exile part, today was the day in 1815 when he escaped from his exile. So wonderful fact. And also, this marked the beginning of his return to power in France, which was, I think, they call it as some 100 days, I think. So this was like coined as a term given to his dramatic return to power, because after escaping, he landed in the southern part of France, and then he marched towards Paris. uh, he got, obviously he was loved by his military, so he got support from the military, and then even the public supported him. And then his return was, again, he called himself the Emperor of France, and then he was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo just 4 months, 4 to 5 months after this, in June of 1815. So it was not a long reign, but again, he never gave up. You can say that. He went to. Yes, warrior spirit, exactly. Okay, anyone else who wants to continue, who wants to speak on the topic?
I guess, as of I understand and as of I interpret, Napoleon had much of an influence on the cultural side of wars rather than the actual side, I feel, because he was the first one to introduce those colorful uniforms for his soldiers, like different styles of caps for his, like the officers in his army, and the that light, like generally before and all there, like in normal battles there'd be like two distinct units fighting, like the regiment would fight the regiment and the infantry would fight the infantry, so such clashes used to go on. But if I'm not wrong, Napoleon was the first one to mix both of them, and he was the first one to introduce the concept of the light field artillery backing up the infantry units, which was not used before. Generally it was used against the cavalry and other, like other installments of battle. It was not used against the infantry, as it was considered useless, because one fireball can kill at max 4 to 6 people. And if we had some 10,000 people, then you had to launch huge amounts of cannonballs, which would be difficult to carry, and transportation, etc. So I feel he had more of an influence on the cultural side, on how battles will be fought on how different types of field formations, and some of the things and or the rules which he introduced in the armies is still being used today.
Okay, one more thing. He was the one who introduced the system of canned food in the military, which is still being used. So, one more fact. And also, he was the one, I think in 1799 or around 1800, He was the one who created Bank of France. Okay, Samriti, yes, go on.
Okay, yes. So, as we are discussing about mm, I mean to say his achievements mostly. So, one thing which I would like to mark here, like why he rose to power, like why he was trusted so much by uh, his I mean his colleagues and later his uh, subordinates too, because in early his career he had captured uh, few territories from the Britishers. So yes, suc he also was successful in this. And what he did use is mostly innovative artillery. So he was very much credited for perfecting the cannons that we used. He had largely experimented with them to capture a city in British territory, now in France, Toulon, if I'm not wrong. Also, he had also why he was trusted by monarchies too, because he had crushed few rebels at his time, uh, n- at his time, like in around 1796 or 1795 mostly. And after the coup, he became the first consul, centralizing the authority of the post-revolutionary France. So that's what I want to say here. Also, he used public votes. Maybe we know it that it was maybe manipulated by then. Uh, Public votes were legitimized under his rule. So around 3 million people approved of his emperorship when he seized the throne. Also, as you all were discussing, that we credit him for modernizing many things that we use in our world today, and for mostly modernizing his mother nation, France. So he had standardized many things, infrastructure, and mostly the bank structure, as I had already mentioned. And yes, his regime did grew very authoritarian. Um, but what can I say? Like autocratic ruler, they are very successful with their reigns and also implementing laws. Uh, also, mm, very often than not, freedom of speech gets curtailed in under their rule. But yes, they are very well known all around the world, and that can also be seen in today's world as we are witnessing the shift of power towards far right in this world.
Okay, wonderful points. One thing which I really want to discuss, since we are discussing him, obviously, we call him great, we call him a conqueror, and that's what the point of debate is. But was he really a great conqueror? Like, what are the lands he conquered? Spain, France was already his land. He conquered Austria, Hungary, Prussia, I think, and Denmark as well, and Norway, obviously. Um, so he only conquered like 4 to 5 other kingdoms, right? Why do we call him a great conqueror? Like, what do you think? What was the reason behind it? Do you have any opinions on that? Anyone?
I agree with you while you say that he was not a great conqueror. I guess it's just European supremacy being stated.
Yes, I feel the same because
Even
I
if
don't think
he's,
there's any other reason.
yeah, even
Go
if
on,
we
go on, go
see,
on.
even if we say that he went into Moscow, he traveled some 1,000 kilometers, he went into Norway, and he went down south also. He didn't actually conquer the lands. He just went, killed some people, and returned back to Paris. He didn't actually conquer Poland and all.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. Good point. Okay, Samriddhi has raised her hand. Go on.
Well, the European narratives easily craft him as the conqueror because what he did was in Hindi we have a term कुएं का मेंढक होना. So Europe is that कुआं, and मेंढक is of like I don't want to be derogatory towards him, but yes, he was the मेंढक of that कुआं, and what he did was conquer. He allied most of the Europe by 1800, uh, by the early 1810s, I think, by then. So Europeans craft him as the great conqueror because yes, he was successful in allying and defeating the greater kingdoms of Europe back at that time. If we compare that to India or even Mongols, he is nowhere in the league. But since our books are written on the European narrative, we call him the conqueror. Yes, his campaigns did cause so many harm to lives. His military budget was very ambitious, I would say. $3 to $6 million he used to spend in that. So yes, his campaigns were very expensive and not very fruitful as well. Uh, if we compare that to our Marathas, uh, they are nowhere on the scale. I mean, the French under Napoleon.
Okay, good point. Exactly what I wanted to say. Same thing. So we had a good discussion. We had opinions coming from all of us. What do we conclude from this? Uh, can we call him a hero? Can we call him a villain? Can we call him good? Can we call him bad? Can we call him a great conqueror or the butcher? What do we finally conclude? Or should we just let it be where we had started? Let it just be there. What do you all say?
I prefer him calling a random warlord of Europe who won a few battles and got subscribed into some random ideas and established a great military culture.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, go on, Samriddhi.
I largely agree with Shamant. He's just a maniac who conquered few lands and allied a few lands, and mostly he is known for his warlordship. And one thing good we can point to is he brought many military reforms which are currently being used, and I think we can thank him for that. So I think he is neither the savior of France nor the butcher of Europe. Okay, he can be butcher of Europe because what he did was kill so many people along his way uh, to conquer lands and then retreat back to his very comfy bed France. So, like my opinion would be very different from the topic about Napoleon.
Okay, so I think what we can say is that uh, we can consider him hero for some of the points, and we can consider him villain for some of the points, like the reforms he brought or the contribution to law and governance. I think we can call him hero for that. Obviously, can't take credit from him. Talking about his villain identity, I think because of the wars, because of the mass killing he did, not killing, the millions of lives which were lost during his conquest, the disregard for human cost in the conquest of power, and the authoritarianism which he brought. I think so. We can call him a 50-50, maybe a 60-40. So I think that's my conclusion from my side.
Yes,
Anyone
that's a
who
very
wants
great
to?
take on him.
Thank you, thank you. So I think we had good opinions. We had good, not a good participation, but we had a good discussion. I can say that. Should we end this? Do we have someone else or something? Anyone who wants to add?
What I want to say is it was a good session. Also, you did good in conducting this discussion. A discussion, what how we evaluate it is by the kind of points being held during it, and how we put forward our opinions. And also, there should be no boredom there. So even if you had less participation, if you had active people speaking there, you can consider it a success. But yes, we can keep it on a better day, definitely. Great
And
job,
exactly,
Divyanshu.
everyone was equally invested, and that is what is important, right? What's the point of having 20 people and only two speakers, right? So I think it was a great discussion. And personally, I never read much about Napoleon apart from books, and today I got so many different insights. It was amazing.
Thank you for that. So should we end this then?
Yes, and I request the essay admin to stop recording.
Okay. So we can leave, right? Like, and we can end this.
Maybe you will have to end the meeting.
Yes, yes. But I don't have it to have the power to end the live streaming. Divyanshu,
Yes.
live streaming we have to end now.
Just end it. Just end the
Uh,
meeting.
I can't end the call
okay.
for everyone until the stream is stopped.
Uh, are you on PC or phone?
I'm on a PC.
So end the meeting for all. You are the host.
Then I'll just leave the
Amriti
meeting.
Didi, even you are the host.
Okay. So here it's